Hi guys, so this is TPON Talks Liberal, and we're back for our second election special. I'm with Logan Gagliano and Tyler Rosich. I butcher that name every time. So, yeah, a lot of voter fraud going on, and it's intense. We've got three great candidates. No, not really great, but three very eligible candidates for this race. So yeah,
I just want to kind of point some out from what I remember. I mean, heck, there's what time is it now? I'm trying to remember what time it is. But whatever, we still have four hours, 3.5, 4 hours left in the election, if not five. No, so we got a whole lot of time. But I just kind of remember, and everybody rushed to the polls, immediately as it opened, and that's kind of right when the polls open. That's all the TPON votes go, and then you have the rest where things are kind of slow, and that's the super account votes and everything else. But if you do look at things, when Peak really started to gain, Darby I think was beating TCP by like 5 or 6. So I mean it was a slim lead, but it wasn't anything like super huge.
yeah.
But the other thing that was pretty interesting is that TCP was losing by both candidates by 20, and then after that he just started gaining a huge amount. I mean, before the election, he was just telling everyone, when he was telling himself he was going to win, but I think once he realized that he was probably going to lose and had a really real chance of losing, he's probably just found, all right, well, I can't just get what's normal, right? I've got to try to pull some on my sleeve, but little people are forgetting a peak. But the little people are forgetting, many people are forgetting that he's the admin of RTG.
Yeah.
And
I'm in RTG.
Gosh, he's got so much power in that .gov. And from what we know, that whole entire, I don't know what's going on, but that whole entire .gov is probably, I'm sorry, probably for him. What's going on?
Benson just said that we may redo the presidential elections.
Oh man, now that would be
crap.
That would be intense.
No. Horrible idea.
Yeah, because there's still going to be fraud.
Because I'd be able to be on the ticket more. I don't know, but honestly, when I'm running as VP for Darby, I'm not the person who's going to be trying to get super accounts as much. I mean, sure, I guess it's helpful, but in reality, sure, maybe you'll get like 20 something, more votes with a super account. But let's be honest, if it's on a super account, honestly, you're not going to get much change in votes because a lot of people who aren't in TPON don't give a crap about TPON, and nothing's really going to change. So unless you're like individually DMing like hundreds of people, then that's where you might see some form of change. But just having a super account shout you out on one post isn't going to do anything. That's what I say. It's like, sure, it'll get you a few votes, but it's not worth the trouble. And again, people are just going to consider that you're cheating, and it's just going to hurt you in the long run. So that's why I hate super accounts.
Yeah, I think if we do a recount, it's just going to be pretty much the same thing. I mean, there's still going to be fraud. There's still going to be all this stuff going on, and nothing's going to really change that much. Except,
what would be interesting, and this is pretty crazy, is that if we just have strictly TPON and a strictly presidential TPON election, but the way you do that is we do what they do with the primary, what the Republicans do with the primaries, is the voter codes. And so
I think that to me a while ago, like a week ago.
And so I might suggest that to Vincent, but it's like that's honestly going to be the only way in which we have actual control and can tell where fraud is being committed. And so, we're going to need to have these, probably have, in my opinion, a voter code election is what would be most helpful. And so that's how I see it working out.
it's
I want to
there's
say PKMFM.
yeah, there's definitely no easy situation to get through this, and I mean, no matter how we do it, there's still gonna be blood, and it's still gonna be messy. So
Yep. Well,
yeah.
well, what do you? Well, I mean, what do you expect more? I mean, what all of us are pretty much just 12 and 16-year-olds who probably actually know nothing about politics. We just actually assume we do, and whenever we lose an election, we just scream fraud. But I guess that's how TPON works. And I mean, hey, I'm definitely guilty of that. So that's how I see it.
I mean, that's kind of the. I mean, I don't mean to take away from TPON, but that's kind of the charm of RTG is that you know everyone and there's very little voter fraud, if any. Because what you can do with elections there is you can just DM everyone and be like, "What's your vote?"
Yeah. But I mean, RTG, I mean, it's got a whole lot of followers, I mean, of course, but let's be honest. I mean, it's a small mock gov, and regardless of what mock govs there's going to be, no matter what happens in TPON is just ultimately the biggest mock gov of Instagram, and regardless of what happens in it, it's going to remain that way, whether people like it or not. And I think the RTG, yeah, it seems like a good idea at first, but I mean, let's be honest, it's the exact same thing as TPON. It's just
Smaller,
TPON when it
yeah.
was smaller. So there's really, I think, uh, no difference even if RTG grows. But I mean, that's how I see it.
Well, yeah, we've got. I'll just check the polls right now. It's just a crazy race going on, and well, yeah. So we got Peak at 223 Rhodes, and TCP at 188, and then Darby and you at 155. So
Yeah, because that's the thing I don't understand. Not Pete, but TCP and Rose are relatively, uh, you know, well-known members of TPON. I mean, well, they are actually very well-known. Darby's pretty well-known, and me, I just joined the ticket. I really can't claim much for myself, but Warcraft's been in TPON for a very long time.
mhm.
You look at that, and sure, Pete's been here a long time as well, but when in the last election, everyone said, "Oh, it's going to finally be the time," and the term, an election where Pandia, wins the presidential race. And I thought it was going to happen that way, but it turns out it didn't. And Rose won, and for the most part, it was might have been fair and square that how he won. But the way, the election went, I mean, sure, the only problem really for the presidential race was the use of super accounts, but there really wasn't too much talk of fraud as much as there is now. And with this, obviously, let's be honest, Peak had no chance going into this election. And, this only shows, I think, that if Peak wasn't running, TCP and Rose
Would
would have just
landslide.
absolutely been destroying Darby,
Mhm.
and Warcraft and me, whoever, they would have just run away with it by now. But because TCP is running, he's splitting the right vote,
Yeah.
but we don't know
Well,
what
that's
other
not his
votes
fault.
he's
That's
getting
Peak's fault for
from.
splitting the right.
So,
Rusich.
yeah.
I have really bad news.
What?
Darby just said that Pingator, or whatever, is his running mate.
Huh.
Yeah.
I wonder where that is.